Hi everyone, welcome to the Executive Planning Day video I prepared. My name is Kiaan. Today I will speak on some economical factors we may need to consider as a business. The three primary indicators of the economy are closely connected to and influence the business cycle. The business cycle is a chart that represents the rise and fall of an economy through its peaks and troughs. Since each of these indicators reflects the economy's health, they can help pinpoint the current phase of the business cycle. GDP is the indicator most directly linked to the business cycle. The business cycle consists of two axes, the x-axis representing time and the y-axis representing GDP. Consequently, the business cycle is analyzed based on the growth of GDP over time. Inflation pertains to the overall price level in an economy, which can also indicate its health. Elevated inflation levels typically suggest that the economy is experiencing a boom within the business cycle. Thus, inflation serves as a useful gauge of economic vitality as shown in the business cycle. Unemployment reflects the number of job opportunities available in an economy, shedding light on its health. A thriving economy usually provides more jobs, leading to increased consumer spending, whereas a trough in the economy results in fewer job openings, and lower spending. Nevertheless, unemployment remains a significant metric for assessing the economy's performance, particularly when viewed through the lens of the business cycle. Understanding how to interpret indicators and the business cycle is crucial for our company. The state of the economy influences consumer confidence and subsequently their spending habits. Therefore, if we anticipate the economy's health by analyzing the indicators and connecting them to our business, we can better prepare for times of slow economic growth when revenue might decrease and for times of growth. In the end, the business cycle and the indicators are vital for navigating unforeseen economic shifts in our future. As you may know, recently Donald Trump has instated tariffs on many countries. These graphs demonstrate the impact on both the US and the Australian economies after these tariffs are in place. Australia will see a fall in aggregate supply as the potential for profit when exporting becomes lower, creating less incentive for exporters. As a result, the aggregate supply curve shifts to the left as you can see on the graph below. In the US economy, the domestic producers will benefit as less producers will export to America due to less profit, creating less competition. As a result, the aggregate demand curve will shift to the right as consumers will be able to buy more domestic produce for better prices, as you can see on the graph below. Tariffs are typically a detrimental form of intervention as they can lead to numerous adverse effects, including trade wars. With Trump's tariffs extending to a global level, trading efficiency worldwide is likely to decrease. Additionally, trade will further decline due to the extra tariffs that emerge from trade wars, which usually target a country's key imports and exports. This poses significant risks for a nation like Australia, which manufactures very few goods domestically and primarily depends on trade for many of its resources. Moreover, Australia maintains strong trade relationships with both the United States and one of its competitors, China. The country trades extensively with both nations and relies on them heavily. Consequently, Australia is poised to face many challenges during this trade conflict, as retaliatory measures against the US and tariffs could jeopardize these relationships, while a lack of retaliation might damage the public image of Australia. The negative consequences mentioned will lead to increased prices, whether for exports or consumption. As a result, the Australian economy is likely to decline, since higher prices diminish consumption and restrict economic activity. These tariffs will pose a challenge for our business, as we are involved in energy and gas production. Tariffs will complicate the acquisition of resources for our production from abroad, thus raising our production costs. This rise in production costs, coupled with the reduced demand, will create challenges in our future, making it prudent to prepare for these circumstances. When running a business, it is important to grasp the concepts of behavioral economics, and to do so, we should compare it to traditional economics. Traditional economics is based on unrealistic views regarding consumer behavior. It assumes that consumers act rationally and strive to maximize their utility. In contrast, behavioral economics acknowledges that consumers can be self-serving and irrational, leading them to make choices that benefit themselves rather than the economy. Expanding on this idea, traditional economics posits that consumers possess perfect knowledge of the market and thus can make well-informed choices. Behavioral economics, however, recognizes that consumers often lack complete information and tend to make more simplified decisions. While traditional economics claims that consumers' decisions are consistent over time, behavioral economics acknowledges that these decisions can vary based on the contextual and cultural environment. In summary, traditional economics relies on certain assumptions, whereas behavioral economics aims to reflect the complexities of real-world situations. We can now apply these concepts by considering the dominance of unhealthy foods in the market. Traditional economics would assume that these consumers would have perfect knowledge and know how bad these foods are and their consequences of buying them. However, in reality, these consumers follow behavior economics, as they lack complete knowledge on how bad this food can really be and make the simplified decision to buy the unhealthy food because they like it or it's cheap. Now moving on to AI. AI will have a variety of effects within the business landscape. Nevertheless, the primary effect will be on the workforce. The impact of AI will vary depending on whether the labor is categorized as skilled or unskilled. As illustrated in the graph, skilled labor is expected to see an increase in its supply as AI will simplify the process, making it more accessible for people to do skilled labor. Conversely, unskilled labor may experience a decline in demand because AI can easily replace some of these jobs, resulting in fewer opportunities for those workers. In terms of wages, skilled labor is unlikely to see significant changes due to AI facilitating the acquisition of skills. However, unskilled labor is anticipated to experience a wage reduction, as the value of such labor diminishes with AI's capacity to substitute it, right? The emergence of AI in the labor market raises concerns about its potential influence on income equality. Majority of low-income earners typically belong to the unskilled labor group, and AI poses a negative threat to their employment. In addition, higher income individuals will have the resources and capability to adapt and utilize AI, potentially increasing their earnings. Consequently, it is quite probable that income inequality will worsen with the advent of AI, as lower paying jobs deteriorate while wealthier individuals leverage AI to enhance their income. Thank you for listening. Please have a look at the post that we have attached after, and I hope you enjoyed.